Hey, what's up you guys? It's been a while since I uploaded my last video. This was supposed to be Christmas gift ideas, but unfortunately I didn't make it on time. But I just really love to share it to you, and these are not just for Christmas gift ideas, but also as a birthday gift or something you can make for yourself. These are very useful and very functional. The first one I have for you is a small storage bag. This is very easy to make and it will only take 5 to 10 minutes depends on your sewing experience. Alright, so cut 16 by 10 inches of fabric, then fold it together and mark the upper hand side about 2 inches. And from there, draw a curved line. You can either make it like an envelope style like what I did, or a C curve, either way you like, and just cut it out. And also cut one for the lining as well. Then I mark 1 and 1/2 inches on both sides, and I cut a sewn rhinestone, give it a little bit of sparkle, then sew it along with the main fabric. Once it's done, go ahead and sew the lining all the way. Make sure to leave an opening, trim the corners, make notches in the curves, and turn it right side up. Then I'll fold the garment about 5 inches long and I'll do a top stitching from the left hand side to the right hand side. Don't sew the bottom part. I know my hand motion it says all the way, but don't do that. Then mark the spot where the button needs to be, and using the buttonhole foot in your sewing machine, place the button you're going to use in a tiny slot provided. So over here are the buttonhole stitches. Depends on your sewing machine, but I'm going to use number 30. I mean, it don't really matter what style you use, it's going to be okay. Then just let your machine do the work. It's automatic and it stops when it's done. Then I just cut a hole using a seam ripper, attach the button, and it's finished. So that's all for a small storage bag, and of course you can use it as a makeup bag maybe, and you can store quite a bit in it. You can also use it as a face mask bag or even toiletries or handkerchief, just whatever you please. It's very simple, super easy to make, and also elegant. The second one I have for you is the personalized mini makeup bag organizer. To make the pattern, use 11 by 8 inches of paper. Fold it together to have a guideline. So in the bottom, position the roller in the center point, which is 2 and 1/2 inches. Then draw a 5 inches line with 1 inch deep. Then in both sides, mark about 6.25 from the bottom, then draw 6.75 inches in the center. Position the roller in your 6.25 inches mark and draw a 7 inches wide line. Then connect the upper line to the second bottom line in both sides. Then just fold the paper one more time and draw a curve connecting the middle edge point to the side edge point, and just cut it out. And your pattern should look like this. Cut one main unfold and one for the lining. Mark the center part of the main fabric, which is 2 inches wide. So this is where you can add your personal dots. I mark about 2 and 1/2 inches from the top and I trace the letter out, or just make sure that the letter is in the center of the fabric. If you decided to add initial, then I recommend that you use embroidery hoops. It just makes everything so much easier. So I also have the finished product available in my Etsy shop. I do a custom order for a very reasonable and affordable price. But if you'd rather want to do it yourself, that's fine with me too. Just follow all the instruction and you'd be able to make exactly the same thing. But if you want to know more about it, just check the description box below for more info about what kind of materials I use. And here we have a lovely initial. And for the side panels, cut two small pieces of fabric, measurements on the screen, and then position and sew them in both sides. Make sure not to sew it all the way, leave at least 1/8 inch on both sides, and then mark in 1 inch indications in the corners. Then sew the side panels in the front and back panels. In the upper part, fold about 1/2 inch of the side panel down and make sure that it's positioned 1 inch away from the top corner where the indication is. Then cut a notch on the bottom part to help loosen the tension down there. Then I cut a little piece for the strap. I like to just zigzag the side, or you can sew it entirely, but since I'm using a little fabric, I just like to do it this way. I like to position it at the left side of the back portion, just sew it along with the side panels. Then just make sure to trim the corners. For the pockets, I have two pieces here. One is 1 inch shorter than the other, so hem the edges and you can either do a basting stitch on the bottom, or if not, that's fine. I'll show you two ways to do it. First, gather the fabric until the length matches in the inside panels. As you can see in there, I marked 1 inch from the center part and it's side by side, and that's where we should position the pockets. So this is for the shorter pocket. Pin it in the line, making sure that the gathering are distributed evenly, and just sew it straight across. Then flip it upward, sew the sides all the way to the other side, then do a top stitching on the center part only to create two small pockets. And there we have two lovely pockets. For the second pocket, pin the wrong side in the line. So unlike the first one, I didn't do a basting stitch, so I'm gonna have to do 4 small folds. This is the longer one, so we should be able to make at least 4 tiny pockets. I like to pin it in the side first and then work it all the way in the center, and you can also adjust it till you're happy with the result. And once again, sew it straight across, flip upward, sew the sides together, and do a 3 top stitching to create 4 dividers. By the way, I just want to mention that I didn't put an interfacing because I'm using a canvas fabric and it's already stiff as it is. But if you're going to use different kind of fabric, then you may need to use interfacing. And here we have lovely tiny pockets. Next is to attach the side panels. So the way you do it, it's like the reverse of the outside layer, but when you sew the bottom, like on the other one, leave at least 1/8 allowance on both sides. Then mark 1 inch indication and sew the side panels together. And again, fold about half of the side panel down and make sure that it is positioned 1 inch away from the top corner. Then just do the same on the other side. Just make sure to leave an opening so we would be able to turn it right side out later. So for the top, cut 2 main fabric and 2 lining, then attach the zipper in between of the 2 fabric facing right side together, then clip or pin and just sew them into top stitching. To attach the top layer to the main panels, we need to open up the zipper. Then match the end of the top layer to the corner. Pin and sew it about 1/4 of an inch, same allowance. Make sure to leave at least 1/8 allowance in the top corner of the main panel. Also make sure that the end of the top layer is in line of the side seam. So after I sew the side corner, I cut a small knot on the side so I can rotate the fabric easily. Then I clip the rest of the top panels to the main panels. Then just sew it together about 1/4 seam allowance, and then again I stop when I get close to the corner, and then I cut another notch so I can rotate the side of the fabric down, and then just sew the rest of the top part on the side. It is easier if you do it one step at a time, and you should be able to achieve a really lovely corners. Then just repeat it in the other side. Next is to attach the inner layer to the main layer. So this part is a bit of a challenge, but like I said, do it one step at a time, stop in every corner, cut small notches to really loosen the tension, and I guarantee you that it will be smooth. So once it's done, turn it right side out, close the open spot by sewing a top stitching, and just finish the sides in the zipper part. I like to put a little pin to block the zipper from sliding down, and just top stitch the sides and it's finished. So one thing I really love about it is that it's small and yet it's big enough to accommodate my daily essentials. It has enough organization so I don't have to dig in my purse to find what I need because it's all in there, and it's also a perfect gift for any occasion. So the last one I have for you is the phone bag. This is very functional and so minimalist. You can use any fabric you want, but I'm using a lightweight fox leather fabric. You can also download the complete pattern from my Etsy shop or just make your own. Just follow all the measurements indicated and you'll come up with the same thing. So for the front and back panels, cut 2 pieces of main fabric and 2 pieces for the lining. Then cut 3 pieces of the main fabric for the pockets and then just hem the top. Take the front panel and mark 1 1/4 inch from the top. Then place the card pocket on top approximately on the 1 1/4 inch indication and sew it along about 1 inch distance from the lower part. So in your first pocket, mark half of an inch distance and position the other pocket on top. And like the first pocket, sew it along about 1 inch away from the lower part. So for the third pocket is quite different. Mark 3/4 of an inch in the bottom part. Fold it, then trim the bottom part of the second pocket about 1/4 of an inch. Then place the last card pocket on top and sew it just a little bit above the second pocket. Then just trim the excess fabric. Then just do a top stitching of 1 inch wide on the sides to create an accurate and nice fit card holder. For the front pocket, cut 2 pieces of fabric, 1 main and 1 for the lining. Sew the top and the bottom part only. Then trim the corners and cut notches on the curved side, and then turn it right side out and do a top stitching on the top side only, and then sew it directly on top of the front panel. Moving on to the back panel. For the back pocket, cut 2 pieces of fabric, 1 main and 1 for the lining. If you follow all the measurements, you should be able to replicate the same exact shape. Do a top stitching on the top side and then attach it directly to the back panel. I like to use a chopstick to get a nice and sharp edges, then I'll do a top stitching all the way except to the top part, and I'll position it just a little bit above on my back pocket. For the pin holder, hem the top and then fold the fabric in half and sew the bottom about half of an inch. Flip it right side out and then position it in between of the front and the back panels. But if you decided not to put one, then you may skip this part. Then just sew the sides together about a quarter or half of an inch seam allowance. Then I'd like to trim some of the fabric so it won't be too bulky on the sides and just turn it right side out. For the front cover, cut 2 pieces, one main and one for the lining. And cut 1 piece for the accent bow, or if you use different kind of fabric, then you might want to add lining on it to keep the fabric from unraveling. To make a perfect bow, gather the fabric on the center, use your 2 fingers as a guide and make a circular motion. Don't twist the fabric, make sure that the right side is still facing up and just tie it and you'll have a nice and lovely bow. Place it on top of the main cover, attach the lining over it and sew it all the way except the top part, then just do a top stitching. To attach the button, find the center of the back cover. Mark the place where the button needs to be and poke a small hole. Then insert the top hair of the button in the hole, then attach the middle plate. I also like to put a little piece of felt just to add an extra hold in there and just lay the legs flat away from each other. Cut 2x6 piece of main fabric, fold in half, sew the sides together and turn it right side out using a safety pin, and cut it into 3 small pieces which is 2 inches long. And also don't forget to attach the D-rings on the strap holder, then just pin or clip them in the side of the bag. And you can also put one at the back in case you decided to use lanyard in the future, who knows. Then I just attach the cover with it with the right side facing down and then sew them together. Then sew the lining pieces on the side only. Once it's done, slide the bag inside the lining fabric and sew the top. Once it's done, go ahead and slide the lining back up, tuck the raw edges inside and just do a top stitching to finish it. Then just tuck the lining inside and attach the remaining pair of the button. So what I do is I press the top against the bottom to kind of create a mark on where I need to position that pair. Then I just poke a hole using a seam repair. And then just simply insert the button in there, put the middle plate and lay the legs flat away from each other. Then I also like to glue a little piece of felt on top to cover the middle legs and to keep it from scratching my card. Moving on to the straps. So to make the wristlet, cut 1 piece of fabric, measurement on the screen, then fold the fabric 4 times to create a tube. If you're using cotton fabric, it's easier if you press it first. Then just insert the swivel hook, and after that, open the fabric and sew both ends right side together. Then lay the seams open and fold back the fabric into tube again, then just sew it all the way around. Position the hook in the seam and gather the strap together and just top stitch about 1 inch to secure the hook in place. For the crossbody strap, cut 1 long piece of fabric. And again, fold the fabric 4 times and then just do a top stitching in the sides. Then just attach the swivel hook in both ends and just sew an X box to secure it in place. So these are all for the phone bag, and hey, in case you might like to support me, hit the subscribe button down below, and I hope to see you again next time. Happy sewing!